Hey, my name is Whitmire, and I'm here to share my reentry story with you. I was released about 3 years ago, just before COVID hit, late 2019. My first challenge was getting out of prison in the correct county. My case manager at Lincoln Correctional wasn't enthusiastic about finishing my home plan. So finally, the head of probation and parole in Catawba County, Mr. Thomas, was able to get it straight. So I was released to Catawba County, where my family is located. I was homeless when I got out. My folks were able to arrange a hotel. The first hotel, which was a long-term stay hotel, my parole officer dropped me off and decided to hang out and talk to the manager for quite a while, after which time she felt uncomfortable with me being there. So I was evicted from the first hotel within an hour of being released from prison. My father was able to arrange for another hotel around the corner for about a week, and then I moved to a third hotel. It's worth noting that one of the challenges, especially in this county, is just finding a place to live, whether you have money or not. For context, at the time, according to Zillow, there were fewer than 100 places to rent in Catawba County at the time. Compare that to Wake County, where there were 1,200 plus places to rent at the time. So this county was extremely difficult to find a place to live, whether or not you have money. Of course, I didn't, just getting out of prison. The third hotel happened to be located right next to a Goodwill. So it was easy, to get a few clothes and necessities from Goodwill, but then it became also my main source of entertainment. So going to the Goodwill 3 or 4 times a day was pretty much my only entertainment. And I realized pretty quickly that I would be able to buy things at thrift stores and resell them online and make a pretty decent little profit. That was down the road, so a little bit. My first order of business was to get a job. There happened to be a recruiting office up the road, about a mile up the road from where I was living in the hotel. I walked up there one day, got signed up, and probably about a week and a half, found a factory job. I didn't have my license at the time, which is the next story. My father had to drive me back and forth to the factory job on the other side of the county every day, which I think cost more in gas than I made, but it was a start. Getting a driver's license was a huge challenge, and I have one of the easiest cases there is. No points, no fines, no fees. I surrendered my license before going to prison, so it should have been simply take a test, get your license. Through what really became a month-long comedy of errors, it took me 4 to 5 weeks to actually get my license. I should also note that the place I lived was right next to one of the DMVs in this county. I literally could walk 100 feet to the DMV whenever I wanted to, and it still took over a month to get my driver's license. The biggest hurdle in my mind was North Carolina requires you to have insurance even if you don't own a car if you have a license. It's called non-owner's insurance. And getting non-owner's insurance is tough because most insurance companies don't know about it. And even if they offer it, their reps don't know about it. And even if they do, the prices are from $40 to $300 a month. That's the quotes I got. I chose the $40 a month quote, and I'm still with that company because I still don't own a vehicle. As soon as I got my license, my father had an old work truck he didn't use, so I started driving that, and that's what I still drive today because it's cheap. So that was a big one. I got to work on my online reselling business, and it launched officially on January 1st of 2020. So I was working in the factory all day, working on the resale business at night, and doing a little remodeling. The house I moved into that my father found around early December was an old farmhand house, and it was extremely rough shape. I was lucky because he owns a lot of rental property in this county and was able to buy the place and rent it to me. Otherwise, I don't know where I would have lived. There's just not many choices here. So the COVID lockdown hit, or was it late March, early April, for 2 months, was actually a huge boon to me and my future. I was able to work on the business and get it scaled up. I was able to remodel my house. I got everything remodeled except for the kitchen. And then when the lockdown ended, I went back to the factory for a few months. And then in August of 2020, I quit the factory job and started doing the resale business full time. So that was a big accomplishment. And then a year later, I was able to move the business out of my extremely tiny house into an office that's much larger than my house, which is where I'm at today. So if I have to look at some of the other things, like most people, there are resources in this county I just didn't know about them. PO didn't know about them. Parole office didn't know about them. Therefore, I didn't know about them. Resources I did find, one of the big ones was, besides Goodwill, was NC Works. NC Works was a huge help. They ultimately didn't find me a job, largely because I was doing my own business. I didn't want to get into a long-term relationship with anybody, so the factory job was satisfactory for the short term. But they did work hard to help me find a job. And then the other one, this wasn't technically after I got out of prison, but at Catawba Correctional, a man named John McLaughlin of Lockers Unlimited comes in and teaches an entrepreneurship class there. I took it 3 times. I actually have 3 certificates from graduating because he teaches it. The class is new every time he teaches it. It's extremely helpful. I've started businesses before, and it was helpful to me. So he literally was probably responsible for me starting the resale business when I got out, just because he expanded my horizons in terms of what was possible. And so I owe him a big shout out for that. So upon leaving prison, my goals were to start my own business. It's a huge help to people that have a felony. Nobody asks questions. Nobody cares if you've been in prison. It's all that goes away when you run your own business. All they care about is if you can do the job or not. So I wanted to get back to that. I ran a business before I went to prison, and a really small business, but a business nonetheless. It offers a lot of freedom. I can pretty much make my own schedule. And it's, way better than working in a factory, at least. I even have probably a quarter of a person part-time that comes in and helps me sometimes. But as far as my goals for the future, I worked on a lot of business plans when I was in green clothes for 18 months. They weren't possible when I got out because of some unknown financial conditions, which I'm sure a lot of people run into. But they are possible now. So the resale business has got me to the point where I can start 2 of those businesses next year. I actually started one of them last month, and I plan on growing those 2 businesses and shutting down the resale business next year. And one of the major things is I'm pretty passionate about helping people, especially getting out of prison. So I joined the staff of Our Journey, working with local reentry councils. So if you're on a local reentry council, you'll probably run into me eventually. And in 2023, I want to expand that role and expand the number of counties we are involved in, and make sure that when people get out of prison and come home, that they are aware and are connected to all the resources that are available. We're working right now with Buncombe County directly, and that's going pretty well. So I hope to be able to, through starting the 2 new businesses and shutting down this resale business, gain the time that I can spend with Our Journey, working with people and locating resources and helping resources find each other. So that's one of my other goals, is a lot of these organizations don't know about each other. Something I've run into the last 2 months. So I plan on working on that as well, connecting resources to people, people to resources, and resources to resources, to make sure that all these fine folks that are helping people can find the people they need to help. So that's my story. Hope it was entertaining. So thanks for having me.